I think it's time to talk a little bit of sports. We teased it earlier, but big NBA day. So I think it's best that Anson Wills is in today. The Pistons now have a head coach. Maz, take it away.
How about it, man? It was the first guy they interviewed. It's the first guy we all mentioned on the show, J.B. Bickerstaff. We all was scratching our head. Why'd the Cavaliers let him go? I mean, he took him far.
Yeah.
And this team was ready to get to the next step. I guess ownership, the general manager in Cleveland thought maybe now I want to get somebody else. And I forgot who even Cleveland brought in, to be honest with you.
Kenny Atkinson.
Kenny Atkinson from the Nets, right?
Yep.
From the Nets or from the Warriors.
Golden State.
Yeah, from the Warriors.
Formerly.
So they bring him in. I don't know what he's got that JB don't have, but I'm happy that the Pistons got this guy. This guy can work with a young team. And now they signed a couple of veterans. We'll get to that in a minute. But the Pistons today are a hell of a lot better than the Pistons before they signed Trajan Langdon. That's a fact.
Before we get to the players that signed, the deals that were signed, because there were some deals, and we will talk about that, some familiar faces coming in as well. First thought when you hear the hire, Anson Wells, J.B. Bickerstaff, you know he's done in Cleveland. First thought, J.B. Bickerstaff, he's the Pistons coach. Go.
This feels like when we got rid of Rick Carlisle. We get to that point. Indiana feels like they are a team that's ready to ascend and they want to win that Eastern Conference championship. Now, JB's been all over.
Yeah.
You know, he's been
Track
all over.
record, yeah.
He's been an interim coach 3 times. So that tells you that they liked him where he was. They found they had a problem. They didn't have an issue putting him in charge. When you look at his tenure at Cleveland, he started off as an assistant head coach. The bubble year he takes over was 11 games as an interim coach. Next season, you know, they're under 500, but the last 3 seasons, this is a surging team, above 500. It's been able to figure out how to take their young talent and parlay that into playoff success. This guy gets a raw deal, and the Pistons take advantage of it. This just totally feels like Carlisle leaving the Pistons back in, 03, 04.
Yeah, hey, last time, don't forget, the last time they signed an ex-Cavaliers head coach, it was Chuck Daly.
Yes, it was.
Just to let you know.
Daddy
Chuck
Rich.
Daly. So let's see.
There we go.
Let's see what JB can do with this motley crew.
Do they have a lit beer we can steal too?
Hopefully he can bring in some of that.
That would be nice.
Yes, it would.
Daddy Rich's skill and what he did with the Pistons in the 80s and the 90s. First thought is exactly what you said. It talks about the player growth, the player development. I think that's what we've been looking at the Pistons the last 7 years or so. Young team, a lot of development, and coaches that were not necessarily patient. Look, Dwayne Casey, he didn't come here to coach young guys. He didn't come here to coach babies, and you got to think about that. When he got fired, he did what he could. It's not why he came here. And then you look at Monty Williams throwing a lot of money to come in and coach a team of kids, basically that's trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out these kids, even NBA kids, as we're trying to figure out with Killian Hayes. They work with Jared Allen. They work with Darius Garland there in Cleveland. I like that with Bickerstaff. A lot of hands-on stuff. So you see growth out of those players. That's what you got here. You got Jaden Ivey. How are you going to grow him? Cade Cunningham, who we'll talk about in a second. How are you going to grow him as your featured player? How are you going to go Jalen Duren, who missed a lot of time in the last 2 years? So I think growth, J.B. Bickerstaff, the first thing I saw. And then also, too, they've been above 500 down there in Cleveland the last couple of years, and that is in the East, the same conference that this team is in. So, man, as I look at that and I say, yesterday or last week we talked about, it seems like for as much as he can have because of the owner, and we talk about, arm tell him and whatever, but it seems like Trajan Langdon has a plan.
He does.
Seems like he's coming here with a plan, and it seems like now that he's been in front of that microphone, he's been implementing his plan a little bit at a time. I got to say, I'm comfortable, not confident, but comfortable right now.
Yeah. They're not going to win 14 games next year. They're going to win a lot more than that. I don't know how many, but they're going to be more competitive. It's going to be a lot better to watch. And yesterday, early morning, that's when the news broke, and that's when Woj came out on ESPN and told us about J.B. Bickerstaff.
Told that the Detroit Pistons are hiring J.B. Bickerstaff as their next head coach. Won 99 games in the last 2 years in Cleveland, 2 trips to the playoffs, including the Eastern Conference semifinals this year. Trajan Langdon, the new president with the Pistons, when they dismissed Monty Williams, J.B. Bickerstaff was the first coach they brought in. He really sold this organization on his ability to not just develop young players, but coach veterans. And listen, Bickerstaff had an outstanding run. You saw the incremental improvement in Cleveland. Now he becomes the new Pistons head coach.
All right, Woj, thank you so much.
And I think the big thing behind that, man, is you got a coach now, you have a system, and it's all about having a plan. Like when you have a plan, things get done, and it seems like Trajan Langdon has a plan. He hires a coach that's used to developing younger minds, younger players. He understands that. He hires a coach who's a shooting coach. You look at what the New Orleans Pelicans have done over the past 4 years. They've been in the top 10 in the NBA as it relates to three-point shooting each of the last 4 years. this past season, I want to say they finished 4th. So you bring in a guy to help the shooting. You bring in a guy to help the young guys. You're starting to see something transform down there. And also, they bring in some former players. The Detroit Pistons bringing in Tobias Harris for 2 years, $52 million. KG, I want to start off with you.
We should play Welcome Back, that Welcome Back title song.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Tobias.
Welcome back. Who did that? Was it Mace redid that?
Yeah, I think so.
When he came back from being Pastor Mason, if you will. Tobias Harris is a guy that we know. He was here 7 years ago, and now he's come back. Not necessarily the same guy he was then, but what do you think about the move to bring Tobias Harris back as a veteran guy that's been around some deep playoff runs?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't what I wanted initially, but we as Pistons fans have to realize the market was drying up. There's not much you could do. Tobias Harris is a guy that can come in. He can help you with shooting. He can help you a little bit defensively, and he's going to contribute, man. So I think all in all, it's a good signing. He's not making the same money he was making with Philly, so that's a plus as well.
$26 million. He getting paid.
Yeah, but it's a 2-year deal. It's not as bad as 36 or 40, upwards of 40 million. So I would take that all day, man. He's going to come in. He's going to contribute. Maybe after a year, you can come off that contract. It's going to work for right now, man. So it is what it is.
What do you expect? What are you expecting out of Tobias Harris? You're talking about a guy at one point when he was here at the Pistons, you kind of saw where he could potentially go, and then we saw that dream fulfilled. Once he got to the Clippers, he became an all-star caliber player. He goes to the 76ers. It seemed like he's been on a bit of a decline about the last 3 years, but like KG said, he's a guy that does typically play both ends of the floor. And overall for his career, he's a pretty good shooter. What do you think about him now?
The thing for me that's most important here is this is a guy that not only was willing, but wanted to return to Detroit.
Yeah.
And that's huge right now. You know, people are saying, should we have given Cade the max or not? You can't get a max player in the NBA at all if you're the Detroit Pistons outside of a ridiculous trade or the draft. So you have to keep him. Now you look at the tiers of the free agents this summer, a couple guys, the cream of the crop, they were gone. We never had a shot. But then that next grouping, he's firmly in there, Tobias. And the fact that he wanted to come back here when we have a team full of 23 and unders, this guy's not only going to help us with our perimeter shooting, going to help us with some interior and even extended defense, good rebounder, but he is going to come in and not be a guy who's, a stranger to Detroit, but he's familiar with the administration, familiar with the facility. He's familiar with the city, and he's going to be able to come in here not just as a veteran player, but as a veteran of Detroit and a veteran of the Pistons. So he's going to do more than what you just see on the basketball court. I think that this signing, and when you go a little bit further into bringing back another Michigander and Tim Hardaway, you've got two guys that they're not at the top of their careers. They're on the downslide. They're still very effective players. And what they can bring to the mentality of this young group of Pistons, I mean, I can see more than 25 wins with these guys in here. They need another player.
Yeah.
But this could be even a 30-win team. And I know that's not exciting.
Whoa,
but
whoa.
It's a big jump. I really think that these two guys alone just change the mentality and the way that this whole team is going to function.
I love your optimism, Anson, but slow down over there, sir. Slow down.
I bleed that red, white, and blue, man.
Tom Mazaway, he brings up a very good point. I know you are Pistons royalty over here, so I have to give you that respect.
I appreciate it.
But he brings up a good point. Monty Williams didn't want to come here, per se. He was throwing money, and eventually he came here. Players don't typically want to run here. Ryan Ermanni talked about last week. It's an agent-driven league. Agents tell their clients where to go. Agents have told their players not to work out for here, et cetera, et cetera. But it seems like Bickerstaff wants to be here. It seems like they got the coach right in that sense. It seems like Tobias Harris, obviously he got paid here, but at the same time, he wanted to come here. He asked to come here. I think this is what getting off on the right foot looks like for Trajan Langdon, getting players and coaches that want to be here and understand they're coming to Detroit. There's a lot of negative things said about Detroit from the record to how they are in the league and what they love, but it still seems like he's doing it the right way so far.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. This isn't.
It's tough sledding.
I know, but you're coming here to Detroit. Detroit's new, man.
Yeah.
This ain't old Detroit.
Okay.
You got a beautiful building to play in. You have a wonderful practice facility, one of the best in the league.
I was down there on Friday getting an MRI.
There you go. How'd it go?
I'm nervous.
Okay.
But on the 17th, me and Doc can sit there and talk about what happened with the shoulder, maybe some tear in the rotator cuff. I'm not going to claim that. But
From golf?
Weights, golf.
From ball golf?
I lift weights too now. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Which one was it, though? Did you hurt it on the green or did you hurt it in the gym?
He heard it on the weights.
I've been complaining about this for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it, so I'm looking for an answer. The gym or the links?
Lifting weights.
Okay.
Lifting
Let's
weights.
stick to
And that's
that
what
one.
he's sticking to.
Anyway,
Stick to that answer.
Beautiful facility down there in the performance center.
It's not like you come into a rundown establishment.
True.
Sure, they're at their worst right now. You can only go up from 14 wins. You can only go up. They're going to get another high draft pick next year. I don't even know what next year's draft looks like. I guess we'll figure that out. But they're going to add some players now. If they can double their win total to 28 or so and just be a little bit competitive, then maybe you can start having some guys here to come here. You know, at the trade deadline, Hardaway will probably get dealt.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Tobias Harris might get dealt. Who knows? He's got $52 million. We just ate $65 million. So I don't think money is the issue right now for Tom Gores.
Yeah.
I mean, look how much money this Pistons team is worth. What'd they sell it? He bought it for like $300 million. It's worth $3 billion now.
Yeah,
so
just under 3.5.
And you know the Boston Celtics are for sale, by the way.
Yeah.
They're going to get sold. The guy bought it for
that.
$360 million. They're going to go for $5 billion. So NBA franchises are on the upswing right now. It's a good time to be in the NBA. You're going to get a new deal here pretty soon, television-wise. Things are looking up here in Detroit. That's all. You know what? You're a 14-win team. You got screwed in the lottery 2 years in a row, and now you're finally starting to get some semblance of a team. You know you got a coach here that wants to be here, and you got some players that want to be here, and they're going to pay Cade. Word on the street is he's going to get himself a max contract coming up. That's the next move. I don't know if you guys like that or not, but why the hell not? Yeah. Keep the guy you drafted with your number one pick.
You got to do it. And for all those reasons you just spoke of, I do think that the Pistons are finally on the right track. We've got a coach that's right in that pocket in his career where he's ready to take on a franchise without anybody looking over his shoulder and really put his stamp on that team. Now, you just mentioned that you think that they'll double their wins. I'm looking at Vegas, and they say 28.5 is the over-under for the Pistons wins this year. Where do you find us on that?
Before I start with that 28.5, I want to get back to you introduced the deal, Cade Cunningham and Maz, you brought up again, potentially 5 years, $225 million deal, max on the floor. Doesn't necessarily have to be signed this year, but maybe you sign an extension. Where are you with that? Because this is where I start. I like the fact, and I remember this from the press conference, I was listening to this nugget. Trajan Langdon said when he come in, evaluation. Evaluation was the word he used. Everybody's under evaluation, and by that, I think he means Cade Cunningham as well. Do you want to do like non-smart organizations and double down on the question mark that you have, or do you want to do it like the smart organizations like the 49ers who got rid of Trey Lance because they knew what they didn't have? Is it a situation where you want to pay this man and be signed $226 million, or do you want to wait and see if he's worth it?
It's really an important question. When you look at those franchises, they've been smart so long that they can handle losing someone like Cade. The Pistons are in a position of such a desperate nature in a league where you look at the past drafts and there's 3 to 5 really strong players that come out per draft, and those are the better drafts. Yeah. Whole lot of, role players and mid guys. But when it comes to landing an all-star caliber guy, and I know he wasn't an all-star yet, but if you look at his numbers, he easily matched and probably surpassed the bottom 3-4 guys on the Eastern roster for the all-star game. This is the only max-type player in the NBA that the Pistons can get their hands on, and it's because we drafted him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you lose him, there's no one that you can go out and sign. In order to obtain one, you're going to have to trade how many first-round picks that we have that aren't protected, because there's a few that we lose if we fall out of the 12. The Pistons are just in a position where they've been dumb long enough where they can't play like a smart team. They have to keep this kid. Now, at the same time, a lot of people, there's plenty of questions around Cade, but Cade's been surrounded by children.
Yes.
With the entirety of the Pistons' responsibility offensively and defensively put on his shoulders.
And bad vets.
When you mix in some of these guys that have some experience, some guys like Tim Hardaway, some guys like Tobias, we'll see who else fills in here. With a new coach that figures out how to use Cade, I truly believe that when he's asked to do less, he's going to become much more.
You know what? I appreciate that. That actually is, that's well said. Because you look at it, that's what we keep talking about. They can't get people to come to play in Detroit. They can't get the top tier players. They can't get the second tier players to come here and give them max deals. The max deal that you have is a guy that you drafted in Cade Cunningham. And also, too, I think we're looking at money, the big money, and not understanding money is even bigger now. 226 sounds like a ton, and it is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But now you're getting deals that are about to start being upwards of 600, 650, and 585. So to your point, I like the deal. You bring Cade back, and you see what you have in Cade Cunningham. And also, too, now to answer your question, and I'll take it to Maz after, 28.5 wins, 14, some injuries. Jalen Duren didn't play a lot early on in the season. I think you have a coach that's going to do some player development. I think the players just naturally get better with working with JB Bickerstaff. I think the shooting, that wins you a couple more games. Bringing in Tobias Harris, let's say he and Tim Hardaway Jr., let's say that they come and play. Let's say that they're not dealt off or they're not traded before trade deadline. Tobias, remember what it was like here. And then he was remember like it was when he was in the Clippers, the way he was in the 76ers. If they get the guys to listen to Tobias Harris, if he comes in and wants to maybe take on that role, I think that buys you 2 to 3 to 4 more wins. And then Tim Hardaway Jr., shout out to the amazing Blue, go Blue. They just say we look alike. I never saw it. I didn't say it was a bad thing. You know what I'm saying?
You're more handsome, bro.
And, Tim, hold on. Tim's a little, he's a little homie. Like when they were winning, or when they almost won, they used to hang out with those guys back in the day. But
what is he, 6'6"? He taller than you?
He's taller than me. I don't know he's about 6'6".
He's slimmer though.
He's a strong 6'5".
Yeah.
Say strong 6'5". But you get him to play. He's a guy. He's a role player that can come in here and role play. 28.5 from 14, even with a new coach, new system, new shooting.
I'm going over.
I know you want to.
It's cornbread.
I'm gonna fall just a little short. I think 26. I say it's just tough. It's tough when we've watched them and we've been analyzing these Pistons now, Maz, in this show for 4 years. And we watched 17 wins when they tried to tank. They didn't try to tank and only won 14. I understand the coaching is different. 26 is where I'm at, Tom Mazaway.
Hey, man, it's early.
Yeah.
Let's let them breathe. But you know what? 26 to 30 wins is very feasible.
No, you're held to a number.
28.5. Okay, fine. 20. I'll say 30 wins. How's that?
I'm on that.
30 wins. But by the way, Sham Charania of The Athletic, it is official. Pistons have signed Cade Cunningham.
That's right, okay.
5 years, $226 million.
Face of the franchise.
They had to do it.
And
now
also,
he's actually got a couple of adults to talk to on the team.
Yeah, and the people that want to coach him, you know?
Yep.
yeah, and this is good too. I think you see this, KG. You learn from the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
You can't learn anything from them yet.
You're right.
You learn from the Detroit Lions. They knew what they had. Amon-Ra St. Brown, what he deserves. Panay Sewell, Jared Goff, etc. You pay those guys. You keep the morale high. I think you look at what Cade Cunningham's done when he's played. He's done all that he can, but he's a young guy working with young guys. You've dumped a lot in his lap. I think you've seen leadership skills. Yeah. I think you've seen a guy that plays on both ends of the floor, defense and offense. And I think you've seen the guy that needs help, but wants to be here. And has been professional.
Yeah.
He has been a young professional the whole time he's here. Pay the man what he's worth. I think this is a good contract and he deserves it.
Yeah, and he's improved every year statistically. He raised his 3-point percentage over the last year. A lot of people want to complain, oh, he's injured, oh, he's this. He had one injury, guys, and yes, he was out for a year, but he showed this last season that he can stay healthy and be a good part of the rotation. So, I mean, you had to do it, man, and people are tripping over the number. You look at Scotty Barnes, who, yes, he won Rookie of the Year, but hasn't really accomplished much else. He's getting 270.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just what happens when you have a rookie on the max contract, man. This is just part of it. But they needed to keep Cade because I'm not in the market of trying to find another 1A or number 2 player because it was hard enough just trying to find Cade. Like, look how long it took us to just get a Cade Cunningham in this organization, man. So, lock the guy up. Let's roll.
That's our only number 1 pick, right? In a long time. You might as well take advantage of it.
History, 67.
Right. Exactly. Take advantage of it.
Jalen Rose's father.
Yep.
Very true.